Okay, now I share the screen and then let's start today's lecture, brain structure and function. So all the different methods of studying the brain give researchers different type of information about brain structure and function. The brain is the most complicated organ in the body. So it is really complicated organ. So in some ways, it is the most complex object we know of. Researchers categorize hundreds of different parts and functions of different parts of the brain. Because of this complexity, we need to divide the brain into separate categories in order to keep track of the information. So when you study and think about the brain, think about three separate major categories or sections. One is hindbrain, second one is midbrain, and last one is forebrain. Some evolutionary psychologists organize these categories into two major divisions, the old brain and new brain. But we divided into the first one, hindbrain and midbrain and forebrain. So let's look at this one. And firstly, let's look at left gray box. Some of the descriptions of brain function may seem vague or redundant when you read about the functions of other structures. Remember that some of the ways in which the brain works are still being investigated, and the functions are just summarized here for our purposes. Keep the area and general functions in mind instead of spending your time trying to figure out exact specific functions and locations. And the hindbrain, let's look at hindbrain. The hindbrain consists of structures in the top part of the spinal cord. The hindbrain is our life support system. This is the top part of the spinal cord, and it controls the basic biological function, keeps us alive. Some of the important specific structures within the hindbrain are medulla, pons, cerebellum. So, and then medulla, this is involved in the control of our blood pressure, heart rate, and breathing. It's also known as the medulla oblongata. So it's so wrong terminology, and is located above the spinal cord. And pons. The pons, which is located just above the medulla and toward the front. So it connects the hindbrain with the midbrain and forebrain. It's also involved in the control of facial expression. So when you show some facial expression, you just use this part of the brain pons. And cerebellum, which is located on the bottom near the brain. It is bottom side, looks like a smaller version of our brain stuck onto the underside of our brain. Cerebellum means little brain. Yeah, little brain, small brain. It consists of all things of brain. The cerebellum coordinates some habitual muscle movements such as tracking a target with our eyes or playing the saxophone. And next one is midbrain. The midbrain, which is located just above the spinal cord, but still below areas categorized as the forebrain, is very small in humans. But this area of the brain confers some very important functions. In general, your midbrain coordinates simple movements with sensory information. For example, if you turn your head right now, your midbrain coordinates with muscles in your muscle coordination. Because for purpose of the AP test though, you should remember that this area is between the hindbrain and the forebrain and integrate some type of sensory information and muscle movements. And one specific structure in the midbrain you should be familiar with is the reticular formation. It's a net-like collection of cells throughout the midbrain that controls general body arousal and the ability to focus our attention. If the reticular formation does not function, we fall into a deep coma. Yeah, this is what it happens. So let's look at the picture. This is our brain, and this is a spinal cord. So there are many spinal cords consisted of in our spine, as you know. And here, the opposite point, there is a medulla. And then next to the left side medulla, there is a cerebellum. So it looks like this.
The small brain.
Yeah, small brain. And here, like the upside, there is a pons. And it connects midbrain and medulla spinal cord. And there is a midbrain. This is midbrain. And then here, upper the midbrain, there is a we just to say the brain, but actually this part is thalamus. Left part is thalamus and right part is hypothalamus. And here, surrounded by thalamus, there is a corpus callosum. It's called corpus callosum. And then surrounded by this area, there is a cerebral cortex. So this is cerebral cortex. So maybe you understand what it means. And let's look at forebrain. So this is our brain, and this is here the frontal side, and this is back side, and forebrain is here, this part. The various areas of forebrain are very important to psychologists. Areas of forebrain control what we think of as thought and reason. Notice figure 3.3 how large the forebrain is in comparison with the other areas. So forebrain is here, this part. So this is very big one. And the size of our forebrain makes humans human. And most psychological researchers concentrate their efforts in this area of the brain. Specific area of interest to us in the forebrain are the thalamus. Thalamus is here. This one, thalamus. And hypothalamus, amygdala, and hippocampus. Okay, so thalamus, and let's look at thalamus again. There is a thalamus here. So in the center of our brain, there is a thalamus, and next to the right side, there is a hypothalamus. This is all our prefrontal cortex. And thalamus is located on the top of our brain stem, on the top. It is responsible for receiving the sensory signal coming up the spinal cord and sending them to the appropriate areas in the rest of the forebrain. And hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a small structure right next to the thalamus. And small size of hypothalamus belies the importance of its function. The hypothalamus controls several metabolic functions, including body temperature, sexual arousal, libido, hunger, thirst, and endocrine system. So if you consider yourself a morning person or a night person, the hypothalamus might be involved since it controls our biological rhythms. Maybe you said you have some sleep disturbance, so
Yeah, I have.
yeah, you'd better check the hypothalamus function well. So you can search Google hypothalamus function, and then you can get some information about like nutritional supplement about hypothalamus function well, something like that. And amygdala and hippocampus. There are two arms surrounding the thalamus. So let's see the picture. Thalamus is like this, and this one, and there is like this. Okay, let me see. Amygdala and hippocampus. These are called hippocampus. Structures near the end of each hippocampal arm are called the amygdala. The amygdala is vital to our experiences of emotion. And the hippocampus is vital to our memory system. Memories are not permanently stored in this area of the brain, however. Memories are processed through this area and then sent to other locations in the cerebral cortex for permanent storage. Researchers now know that memories must pass through this area first in order to be encoded, because individuals with brain damage in this area are unable to retain new information. That's why amygdala and hippocampus is really, really important, because it is related to our memories and retain new information. And let's look at next page. Okay. Cerebral cortex. When most people think of human brain, They think of and picture the cerebral cortex, so surrounded by amygdala. So there is a rear cortex. The gray wrinkled surface of the brain is actually a thin layer of densely packed neurons. So this layer covers the rest of the brain, including most of the structures we have described. When we are born, our cerebral cortex is full of neurons, but the neurons are not yet well connected. As we develop and learn, the dendrites of the neurons in the cerebral cortex grow and connect with other neurons. This process forms the complex neural web you now have in your brain. The surface of the cerebral cortex is wrinkled. It's called fissures to increase the available surface area of the brain. The more wrinkles, the more surface area contained within our skull. So if our cerebral cortex were not wrinkled, our skull would have to be 3 square feet to hold all those neural connections. So there is a gray box. Let's look at this one. These parts of the brain, thalamus, hypothalamus, amygdala, and hippocampus are grouped together and called the limbic system because they all deal with aspects of emotion and memory. They're really, really important for psychologists. When you study the parts of the brain, grouping structures together according to function should help you remember them. So it is really, really helpful. So up to now, do you have any question about this lecture?
No question so far when it comes to like hindbrain, midbrain, and then the frontal brain.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
is
more
really,
great.
really fun. So tomorrow, let's continue the next brain part, okay?
Sure.
Okay,
So
okay.
what time are we gonna start the class tomorrow?
Just let's have a class at 9 a.m.
Okay, sure.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
See you. Thank you so much for today. I had lots of inputs today when it comes to psychology. Thank you
Yeah,
and have a
see
good
you.
night.
Bye bye.
Bye. See you.